I'm Roy Watson. I was a member of the club for 28 years and secretary for 16 years between the period of 1976 and 2005. In 1974, I was asked to come to Newcastle to take over the position of New South Wales manager for the British Phosphate Commissioners to replace Doug Zimmerman, who was transferred to a head office in Melbourne in a senior position. When I came up here to Newcastle, I spoke with Doug and didn't realise at the time he was a past president of the Newcastle Business Club. He was president in 1970. I indicated to him that I didn't really know anyone in Newcastle, had not had any experience, didn't know much about Newcastle, apart from the steelworks and exporting of coal, etc. He said, well, you'll soon learn. He said, I suggest you join 3 organisations, or one of the 3, if you like. That's the Newcastle Club, Rotary Club of Newcastle, and the Newcastle Business Club, Business Men's Club at the time. I didn't realise Doug had been a past president of the club at the time. Anyway, I took him up and ended up joining the 3 clubs. And I got particularly involved with the Newcastle Businessmen's Club, invited onto the committee in 1978. I found it interesting, good guest speakers, weekly function in those days, all male club. Then in 1988, or 89 it was, I think, we were looking for a secretary. Someone had said, well, Roy's available, and I said I'll do it for 2 years. 16 years later, I was still going. It was an interesting period of time because there was a lot of changes within the club. Introduction of female members, which was a great thing, and that was one of my first duties as honorary secretary, to push that part. It took a while because we had some members, older members of the club established, who weren't all that in favour of changing at the time. However, I think we had it on the agenda for every monthly meeting for about 12 or 15, 18 months to discuss. Eventually, we felt comfortable. Members all agreed that we should introduce females. At that stage, we had 1 or 2 females would come with as guests, Maria Charlton being one who came regularly and became the first female member of the club in 1990. In 1991, we then decided the name of the club should be changed, drop the men's from it. And I think whilst it was a weekly meeting then, there were some wonderful speakers, some local speakers. It was a most interesting time. So our first female president was elected in year 2000, Fiona Glenn, and since then we've progressed, I'm sure, to much bigger and better things. Secretary's job was interesting. I tried to make it as a worthwhile club to come to, in conjunction with the presidents I worked with, who were all wonderful people. We We had some great speakers from all over the place. But as I said, some of the better speakers I found were our own local people. Just came along, spoke from the heart about Newcastle. It was all foreign to me, all new to me, and I learned a lot in those days. So I've got a lot to thank the club for. Well, some of the speakers were John Howard when he was treasurer. I think he subsequently spoke when he was Prime Minister. There were so many of them. 42-year speakers. But a lot of them were not the well-known identities. They were locals who were excellent speakers. No, well, it was good. We used to have to guesstimate, or I did, guesstimate the numbers, and generally we got them reasonably right. We never had any arguments with the caterers or anything, really. We moved around quite a bit in those days. I started when it was in the Tattersalls Club. Then we went to the Nova Castrian, I think. And I think we moved to where you still are. Yes, I met a lot of people through the club, and a lot of all the presidents of my era, and really everyone was a little different in their approach to who they wanted as guest speakers, how they wanted to go about it. But they were all did the right thing by the club, and really I think the whole lot that I had at the time that I was secretary were wonderful people, wonderful presidents. Well, the committee meetings in those days were held at the committee people's homes on a regular monthly basis, and that continued for a long time till I think people wanted to change and wanted to hold them elsewhere, but they were always a friendly, cosy little evening at people's homes, committee people's homes, and the awards were an interesting part of the club, the introduction of awards, and a lot of thought was given to those people who received them. And I was very fortunate myself to receive the award in 2004, completely unbeknownst to me at the time. I had nothing, I had no knowledge of it. It was done and behind my back, and I was very surprised and delighted when I was called out. The secretary's job at that stage was well, it's fairly full on, really. With weekly meetings, there was something on all the time. It kept you pretty well occupied. And I fortunately had the time to do it. Coming from interstate, I mean, coming here, I knew nothing about Newcastle really, and I got interested in the town, meeting the various people. Great. So it was a great experience from my point of view, and yes, I got a lot out of it really. I just think it's wonderful to have a club like the Newcastle Business Club, to be able to invite good speakers along and have good attendances. Well, I delighted to see the club expand as it has over the time that I was there. I think in 1974 I first joined the club. It was membership probably, or the weekly attendance was probably 30 to 40 max. really, and I'm delighted to see it expand and now include women, have women presidents, and going on to bigger and better things.
Visit www.newcastlebusinessclub.com.au to learn more.